Aztec death whistle. The Aztec death whistle, or Ejecachichtli, was an incredible instrument used by the Mexica people, unearthed during a 1999 excavation at Tlatelolco in Mexico City. The whistle was found with a 20-year-old sacrificial victim, holding various musical instruments, including a small ceramic skull-shaped whistle. This fascinating artifact, known as the Aztec death whistle, attracted public fascination. When analyzed, the whistle's sounds were noted to resemble the wind and fall within human hearing range. Experimental models have been constructed for research and demonstrations since the original artifacts are too fragile. Contrary to popular belief, the whistle does not produce a sharp shriek, but rather a softer sound, akin to atmospheric wind noise, as reported by music archaeologist R&D Ajay Both. The whistle was discovered in a temple dedicated to the wind god Ejecatel, which suggests it was meant to mimic wind sound for rituals. Although some believe it was used by warriors in battle, there is little evidence to support this, indicating its purpose was likely ceremonial. Grief, finger amputation. The death of a loved one is a profoundly traumatic experience, often causing deep emotional pain. In certain cultures, this emotional suffering is also expressed through physical pain, which is considered an essential part of the grieving process. The Dani tribe of Papua New Guinea exemplifies this practice. Among the Dani, women may cut off the top of their finger when a family member or child dies. This ritual aims to gratify and ward off spirits, using physical pain as a manifestation of sorrow. The Dani believe that the essence of a powerful deceased person lingers in the village, causing spiritual unrest. This is a fascinating ritual that involves tying a string tightly around the upper half of the finger for about 30 minutes to numb it before using an axe to remove the fingertip. The wound is then cauterized to prevent bleeding and promote healing. The severed piece is dried and either burned or stored. Although now banned, this practice is still evident among older Dani women with mutilated fingertips. The Sati of India, the ancient Hindu tradition of sati, where a widow would immolate herself on her husband's funeral pyre, began as a voluntary act of courage and heroism, but later evolved into a coerced practice. Despite being banned across India today, its dark history remains significant. Originally, sati referred to a woman who committed self-immolation after her husband's death, derived from the Sanskrit word asti, meaning she is pure or true. Mythologically, Sati was the wife of Lord Shiva. She self-immolated to protest her father's disrespect for Shiva and prayed to be reborn as his wife, which she was, as Parvati. This tale was often misused to justify the practice, even though Sati was not a widow. Sati symbolized the ultimate act of marital devotion, signifying the closure of a marriage by a wife joining her husband in the afterlife. However, over time, it became a forced practice, with widows pressured into it, especially if they had no surviving children to support them. They were often viewed as burdens on society. Sky burial. Sky burial is a funeral practice where a human corpse is placed on a mountaintop to decompose or be eaten by scavenging animals, particularly vultures and corvids. This practice is similar to Zoroastrian excarnation rites, where the deceased are exposed on stone structures called dakma. Sky burials are common in Tibet, Qinghai, Sichuan, Mongolia, Nepal, Bhutan, and parts of India, like Sikkim and Zanskar. In Vajrayana Buddhism, these sites are known as charnel grounds. Despite the practice being banned during China's Cultural Revolution and remaining restricted due to concerns about vulture populations, it continues among Tibetans and Mongols, who follow Vajrayana Buddhism. This tradition views the body as an empty vessel, and sky burials offer a practical means of disposal due to the hard, rocky terrain, and scarcity of fuel for cremation. While cremation was once reserved for high lamas, modern challenges have increased its use among commoners. Similar air burials were practiced by the Georgians and Adaigi in the Caucasus. Tooth sharpening. Have you ever wondered about the fascinating practice of human tooth sharpening? It's a truly unique tradition that can be found in various cultures worldwide. For instance, many remojadas figurines from Mexico depict filed teeth, suggesting it was a common practice in their culture. The Zapo-Zap people in the Democratic Republic of Congo also had a fascinating tradition of tooth filing. Historically, this was done for spiritual reasons, but in modern times, it often serves aesthetic purposes as a form of body modification. In Bali, a fascinating ritual called potong gigi involves teenagers having their canine teeth filed to symbolize the removal of negative emotions and animalistic traits, marking their transition to adulthood. In the early 1900s, the Herero people of Africa sharpened their teeth for beauty, believing that girls without this modification couldn't attract lovers. The Mentawai people filed teeth for beauty, using no anesthetics and biting on green bananas to ease pain. David Livingstone was so excited to document several African tribes practicing teeth filing. And guess what? This tradition persisted in some Indonesian tribes during prehistoric and Islamic times for various reasons, including beauty and social status. Haka. Haka are incredible, powerful ceremonial dances that are deeply rooted in Maori culture. They're a vibrant form of performance art that is truly amazing to watch. Typically performed in groups, Haka involve dynamic movements, rhythmic foot stamping, and synchronized shouts. Both men and women traditionally perform Haka, marking various social occasions, such as welcoming esteemed guests, celebrating achievements, or honoring the departed at funerals. In New Zealand, Kapa Haka groups are everywhere, in schools and beyond, nurturing the continuation of this cultural tradition. The prominence of Haka has spread globally through New Zealand sports teams, notably the rugby union team, who have been performing it since 1905 to challenge opponents before matches. This practice originated with the New Zealand native football team in the late 19th century. The Haka is so much more than just a war dance. It encompasses a broader spectrum of cultural significance. Maori scholars emphasize that misinterpretations of the Haka as solely war dances and non-authentic performances by non-Maori are inaccuracies that can be deemed offensive. This cultural sensitivity underscores the importance of understanding and respecting the rich cultural context of the Haka in Maori traditions. Bull leaping fresco. The bull leaping fresco, originally on the east wall's upper story portion of the Minoan Palace at Knossos in Crete, is one of the best preserved stucco panels from that site. This vivid depiction captures a bull leaping scene, a common motif in Minoan art. These panels were painted on stucco relief scenes, a challenging technique requiring precise coordination between molding and painting fresh stucco on an elevated panel. Their polychrome colors, white, pale red, dark red, blue, and black, date them to no earlier than the Middle Minoan III period, marking them as examples of mature art. During the palace's destruction in late Minoan II, fragments of these panels fell from the upper story, likely due to earthquake damage near the disused east stairwell. Arthur Evans, the eminent archaeologist, described these frescoes in his work Palace of Minos, referring to them collectively as the Toreador frescoes. Scholars believe there were multiple bull leaping scenes. A proposed reconstruction by Monsieur Cameron suggests 4 similar scenes with distinct yet analogous compositions. Blood Eagle. The Blood Eagle, a fascinating ritual execution described in late skaldic poetry, is a subject of intense debate among scholars, which makes it all the more intriguing. In 2 instances in Christian sagas, we read of victims, both from royal families, being laid face down, their ribs cut from the spine with a sharp tool, and their lungs pulled out through the opening to form wings. This gruesome method, detailed in Old Norse literature, has led to ongoing discussions about its authenticity, which is really quite fascinating. Some say it was a literary invention or a mistranslation, while others are convinced it was a genuine historical practice. Whether it's fact or fiction, the Blood Eagle symbolizes the brutal and enigmatic nature of Viking culture, captivating historians and enthusiasts alike with its horrific imagery. The mystery surrounding the Blood Eagle adds to the allure of Norse mythology and Viking history, reminding us how interpretations of ancient texts can shape our understanding of the past in the most fascinating ways.